Welcome to the Queens on Decks, where I interview female DJs from around the world. I am Michelle Miller, your host of the Royal Queens Rising podcast. We share our inspiring stories and secrets to our success. Hi, welcome to the Royal Queens Rising podcast. I'm your host, DJ RunDat. Today I have DJ Valentina. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, girl. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So I always like to start out by hearing your story. How did you get into DJing?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I was working for an event planning company and I've always had a passion for music. So as I worked the events, I always kept a close eye on the DJs, and I felt like perhaps it's something that I could get into because I come from a musical background. And the long and the short of it is that the company I was working for, entertainment specialist at the time, gave me the opportunity to start as a DJ.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about your musical background, because I think you have a really beautiful voice. So I was wondering if you do any singing.
I don't actually, I think I can sing, but that's really just to myself and in the shower. So if you consider that singing, then yes. But not enough to do anything with. So as far as musical background, both my grandparents from my paternal and maternal side were musicians. They played instruments back in the old country. And on my father's side, actually, they made instruments for everyone in the village. So that's really kind of my musical background.
Uh-huh. So tell me a little bit more. Where is the village? Where is your country?
So I am from Cape Verde Islands and located off the coast of Africa, West Africa. So I usually, when I travel, no one really tends to know where we're from or who we are because we're so small, right? And the entire country is smaller than the state of Rhode Island, which is the smallest state. So figure that one out. And so I just normally say I'm from West Africa. It's the easiest way to describe where I'm from.
Mm-hmm. So were you born there?
I was.
I got chills when you said that because I have a connection with Africa. I've interviewed 8 women from Zambia, and at one point they wanted to bring me out there, and I've had it on my vision board since 2018. It said South Africa. I actually have connected with like quite a few people over there, and I just know that I'm gonna be there eventually.
You look like you belong in Africa right now.
That's funny. No, I had a stylist coach who gave me this makeover a couple years ago, and she's like, "Cheetah's your print, one of them," and I'm like,
Well, does look good on you for sure.
and I'm like, really? Like I was never really into it, and now I'm embracing it. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for Africa. So cool, dude. So you speak 4 languages. So what 4 languages are those?
I do. So my first language is Creole, and that is the native language of where I'm from. And it's different Creole than the Haitian Creole. So the two are not anything alike. And my second is Portuguese because that is the written language there. So they teach you that in school. And then my third actually is Spanish. So once I came to the US, I learned to speak Spanish because English was so darn difficult.
Yeah.
Too many words alike. It was just really a difficult journey to learn to speak English, but Spanish for some reason came easier to me. So that was my third language. I learned that via watching novelas, which is the Spanish version of soap operas.
Yeah.
And then English, of course, once I started school and after maybe 3 years or 4, maybe, I sort of mastered it. I'm still working on it.
Me too. Oh, I love it. I love Spanish. I should be able to speak it because I've taken a lot of Spanish in school and college, and I traveled Spain, but it's It hasn't happened. So I love that you said watching the novellas, because I tried that strategy at one point, and now I just listen to a ton of reggaeton, and like I don't know all the words, but it's okay. I was listening to Mala Mujer this weekend a lot, and then afterwards I was like, oh, that means like bad girl.
Those are the words.
And then I was like, "Oh, borracha." I'm like, "I think that's drunk." Like
You're getting it.
like, if I pay attention more, I might learn more. So that's really cool. So do you get, into a lot of the African music when you DJ?
Yes, I mean, it depends on the client I'm playing for. I'm open format, so really it depends on who I have in front of me, and the clients and also their guests. But I love the African music. It's in my soul. It's in my DNA. It's in every part of my being. So any opportunity that I get to play any sort of Afro beat and Afro rhythm, I love it. I'm in my realm for sure.
I'm loving it too. I definitely went from a reggae dancehall bubble to like a reggaeton bubble to an Afrobeat bubble, and then they are all like coming together. There's this
Yes.
one Spotify playlist called Afro Swing, and I absolutely love it. I don't really know if that's like the genre they came up with or why they named it that, but it's very got it definitely has a dance hall vibe. It's definitely some sexy lyrics. Really nice beat.
I'd love for you to share that with me. I'd
I
love to
will.
check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. So when you started DJing for that event company, I'm guessing you were getting thrown into a lot of like weddings or corporate or
Yeah, I was doing a little bit of both. Actually, a lot of bit of both. I was doing weddings, I was doing corporate events, birthday parties. I was doing a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs. So actually, bar and bat mitzvahs was a big part of what I did for the longest time until I started DJing, and I did that for a while, and then sort of segued and focused more into weddings and corporate events. But yeah, a little bit of everything.
yeah. I love playing for the youth. I think for me, I started a lot with the kid dance parties, and then all the mommies wanted me to play their kid birthdays or their birthdays. So that's really how I went kind of from a hobby to an actual business was like, they're like, how much to play my 10-year-old's birthday? And I'm like, oh, money. Okay. And then I really got the wheels turning and I started doing the research. Okay, well, how much do DJs charge? Like, what's the going rate? And all right, now it's time to go learn how to set up the equipment on my own without my husband because he was my teacher.
I find it amazing that we're able to come up that we're able to make a career out of something that is something that we love. Like just like you said, this started out for you as a passion, as a hobby, and then you turned it into a lucrative career. I love that it became a thing for DJs and for female DJs as well. I think it's just such a blessing.
Absolutely. And you're a mommy just like me.
Yes.
And I think that one of the biggest blessings as being a mommy DJ is we're able to create our own schedules for the most part. And, I started to get so busy that I had to consciously like block off some time on my calendar in the summer to give myself some family time, some quality time. I'm not DJing all weekend long, but sometimes I'll go 4 gigs and that's a lot for me. Um, and so I think that's definitely one of the benefits. Do you find any challenges to being a mommy DJ that you'd like to share?
Oh my gosh. Yes, a ton. I mean, as you know, for me, right now, I feel like I'm really getting the hang of it. It's been 3 years in the making where I really feel like I've got it close to where I want it to be. And for me, just like you said, the struggle was finding that balance between family and work life. And the beauty of having this as a career is like I work from home during the week and I have that flexibility. So during the week, I can give my children the undivided attention that they need. I'm just, again, learning how to balance that time. And I'm still trying to perfect it. But on the weekends, I can go out and work without much guilt because I know that I've done my part when I've had them during the week. So it's a work in progress and it's challenging because many things come your way. But I feel for the most part, that's really it, is finding that balance between work, career, and really giving that quality time to those who deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I learned was that when I do take that time, that quality time, whether it be for myself and self-care or time with my husband or time as a family or even with friends, when I give myself that break, that seems to be when the bookings come.
I don't know that that's the case for me necessarily, but there's something to be said about that. I feel like when you don't put that much thought and energy, or not so much energy, but that much thought into something, it almost happens naturally. Is that what you're referring to, where it just kind of like flows
Yeah.
effortlessly?
Yeah, well, it's
Yes.
like I know I put in a lot of work with online marketing and branding, and I'm all about being visible all over the internet and on all platforms. And I have built a strategy and a method to do that with more ease and joy, and built a
Yeah.
team to help me support do that. Because as a mom, like life's unpredictable as is, but as a mom, you really never know. You have a bigger family, more people to take care of, and so nothing rarely ever goes to plan. So you always have these backup plans. But I feel like this whole slowing down has been something I've had to learn. And then I just realized this pattern. I'm like, often when I'm out of town or maybe on vacation, even like I'll get the inquiries. It's something, I don't know what it is.
There's definitely something to it. Yes. I mean, you listen, it's almost like, and this may be a really bad analogy, but when you're driving, right? And you hyper focus on the tree, if you keep focusing on that tree, you're going to hit it, right? It's almost the same thing. Like nothing good can come of you just being so obsessed. And when you just kind of let go, something just takes over.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my business coach was telling us before COVID even hit, she said, slow it down to speed it up. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
It was a hard concept at first for RunDat, who's always running around. And then we were forced to slow it down. And then her new one is simplify to amplify. And I'm like, okay. And that's kind of what I'm working on right now, because I am very ambitious and I always want to do so many things, but I'm like, no, just simplify it, what is the main one thing?
Yes,
You
and that's something that I'm learning too as well, just is simplifying, because I'm always like, for me, I'm borderline hoarder because everything has to, like, okay, I can't let go of this because there's an emotional attachment to it. So I'm learning to simplify things, materialistic things for one, so that way everything else is simplified in my life and I become more productive.
Yeah, I've experienced that over this last year. I was lucky to have some help. A friend came to stay for a visit, and she really loved organizing. And I'm like, I needed you. And we purged my closet and my dresser, and we filled my whole minivan up with clothes. I was shocked at how much stuff we pulled out of my bedroom. And now it feels so much more light and it's easier to get dressed. Yeah, so that's
Yes.
that's amazing. The next step would be, my music library.
I think we can all work on that.
Yeah, I think so. We get to meet in July at our DJ retreat, and I think it would
I'm
be
so
fun to do.
excited.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to do some like crate organizing, music exchanging, play dress up, do some photos. Like me and Jess have been kind of brainstorming what we want to cover in our time together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So what has this last year been like for you as a DJ?
Interesting to say the least. But I have to say, I really truly feel like this year has been a huge blessing for me. And I mean that wholeheartedly. This year has forced me to sit down, stop, and spend time with myself, rediscover who I am, spend time with my family a little bit more. It's really, for me, it's been really a blessing of that. That's really how I feel about it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. There's definitely been some very challenging moments for me as a homeschool mom. Did your
Oh, for sure.
children, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, were your children home?
they were. And it's like, it's a catch-22, because to be honest with you, ah, it was tough to homeschool. And when I say homeschool, I mean, I'm speaking of my youngest, who's 6. So
Mhm.
that was really difficult for me. My oldest was kind of like on his own and he did really well. But to sit down and teach my little one and have him stay put for a long period of time, and also for me going through things that I already knew, it was really difficult for me because I have ADD. So it's like, oh my gosh, I have to do this again. This is crazy. I cannot keep the focus. But so that was really challenging, honest to God, for me. But the other side of it is that I loved having my children home. I did. I got to spend a lot of time with them. We had lunch together. We had quality time. We were hugging a lot. That really was beautiful to me. And that's something that I definitely will miss. And it's bittersweet because I feel like this will never happen again. So I embrace that part of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Were you able to continue DJing this year? Last year?
Yeah. So for the most part, I was DJing. I had Foxwoods, which is a casino here in Connecticut, and then I had residency at a restaurant in Newport. So between those two, those were my ongoing um, events. And then every once in a while, I'd have a wedding, a COVID wedding here and there. Not as much as I was used to, but it was nice to be able to have a break in between because usually it's just like go, 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 Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it was just like by then I'm exhausted. I have no energy to give to anyone, and I'm usually in hibernation by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that feeling well. Well, that's really cool. So when you're DJing the restaurants in particular, were there strict rules that they needed to stay seated?
Yes. So so when it came to the restaurants, it was primarily just playing to create this vibe for everyone there. There wasn't any dancing allowed, which is understandable given the circumstances, but that was basically it. Just creating a vibe
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
keeping
I
people coming back.
because I did two breweries on St. Patrick's Day and everyone was seated and it just was a little weird. I'm not used to it.
No, it's difficult, but once you get the hang of it, it's just like, it's good for us to work, but it's also great for those who come because what I've noticed is there's a huge difference with music and without. And there's one thing where they have background music solely for from the house. It's another thing when a DJ is mixing it and actually looking out and creating the perfect atmosphere based on what they see. It's remarkable the effects it has.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, music really just sets the vibe for any event. I always tell people, whatever event, whatever type of music, I got you.
Yes.
I mean, it's important. Yeah. So that's cool. What's next for you? How are things looking over on your side of the country?
Right now things are slowly starting to open back up again, and we're kind of looking forward to that. Dance floors in Rhode Island, it's still kind of like they're very hesitant about it, but other states right around surrounding us, they're opening up. So it's looking promising with the vaccine out, and I'm excited to get back to work. I'm a little bit nervous because I've enjoyed this time off traveling and kind of doing what I couldn't do before with all of the events, but I'm also excited about it.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm like, okay, I need to get back into practice of
Yeah.
like the longer hours. I was doing some online radio DJing and those were 2 hour sets and they seemed to be like really long. It was only 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're not getting kind of any sort of energy back from anyone. That's really, I feel, really difficult for us DJs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I could feel, there's a little bit of energy going on in the Twitch. I've been building up the Twitch, but it's still like a lot going on as a DJ in your mind when you're twitching and like looking at the levels and the different
Yeah,
screens and then trying to interact with who's there. I mean, I think we've all gotten to learn a lot of new skills this year. Um,
yeah.
Somebody said I was techie, and I'm like, "That's a first." I'm like,
That's awesome. Your list of things that you can do now.
yeah. So have you been doing I know we collaborated on a virtual event on Women's Day. Have you been doing many virtual events?
So I have been doing events for my own personal clients. I haven't been doing anything like Twitch, for example. Facebook Live, I did probably once or twice, in the earlier stages of COVID. But I haven't actually done anything like that because one, believe it or not, and you and I have discussed this before, the fear of being on camera, but also the fear of being on camera while live is kind of a big thing for me.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Um, but also just not receiving energy. It's tough for me to play when I'm not getting that energy from other bodies in the room and the
Mm.
response. So yeah, not really as much purposely.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of energy, so you've given me like chills like 3 or 4 times in this conversation already, like the good chills. So I'm like
Yes.
vibing. I love it.
And it's there,
So
it's there.
yeah, yeah. So you mentioned to me before the interview that you meditate. And have you been meditating for a long time?
So I used to meditate quite a bit, and then life took over. I was going through ending a long-term relationship. I was married to a really awesome guy. He's still a great person, but we called it quits. And from there, things changed, and my energy started shifting. And so I had stopped and went through this phase of being in limbo, really, quite frankly. And after so much time of being in my own little rut, I finally decided that it was time for me to make something happen. And it wasn't until I got super ill that I decided now is the time for help.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes it takes us a little bit longer, but in my case, that was what did it. And I found a life coach who pulled things out of me and came to realize that one of the happiest times of my life and when I was at my best is when I was meditating on a daily basis. So it's been 3 months now, and I've been doing it as close to every day as I can. I'd lie if I said it was every day because sometimes I'm off, but really I try
Yeah.
to do it every day because I realize the importance and what it does for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I've been practicing. Consistency is always hard for me, but I have some guided ones I really like. And they're all about visioning into what you want and how it feels.
Hmm.
And it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. I
Yeah.
was I first started visioning into me speaking on stage because I was booked for Mobile Beat Las Vegas last year in 20, was that 2020? And I was so scared. I was like, I'm gonna go up in front of a room of 1,000 men and 10 women, and nobody knows me. And I've never even been to a DJ convention, and I'm gonna speak. And so I was just visualizing me up there and it feeling good and it flowing and me walking off just feeling good. And I visualized that for like over 6 months. And then it got canceled and went virtual.
Oh wow.
But I felt like that was like giving me a good like thing, a good reason, if I just keep visualizing this.
No, I mean it definitely helps. We meditate for many different reasons, and that's definitely one way to help get yourself out of your own way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. So how did you find your life coach?
Oh my gosh! So the funniest story is, I went to Engage Summit, I think in 2018, and I remember him walking by a few times, and each time he walked by, there was this aura about him that I felt. I'm very sensitive to people and people's energies and very intuitive. So when he walked by, I couldn't explain it, but I felt something it felt good. Um, and he was always smiling, so obviously that transferred over. But we never really connected then and there. Somehow we connected on social media, and after seeing his posts every once in a while, there was one day that he had just posted about being a life coach. His name is Phil. He's a photographer and life coach, and he's amazing. But I had seen a post, and when you see something and you just know, you read something or you feel something, and just like your brain is looking for ways to make your life better, and when it sees it or finds it, it just clicks. So
Mhm.
that's what it was for me. When I had seen his post, I reached out, and the rest is history. I
Yeah.
have been, oh my gosh, my life has changed so much, and he's basically just guided me back to where I was and where I should be. Um,
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So yeah, I found my coach from a friend referred her. But then I got on her email list, and one day the email was just the right email. It just hit me in the right way at the right time. And I got on the phone with her and she said the right things. And I had no money. And then she offered me a pretty sweet deal. And so I took a car loan out and went and hired her. I did not know what a life coach, business coach, I didn't know there was this whole world of coaching outside of sports.
Yeah.
And I just, for the first 6 months, I think I was like, I really don't know what I signed up for, but I show up every week and I love it. And she definitely has helped me like grow as a person, grow my business, really see the things that I couldn't see. And
Sometimes we need an outside force, call it what you will, to help us realize certain things. Like we are in such a rut in our own way that we don't realize, we don't know which way to go, honestly, until someone else comes in and says, okay, let me simplify this for you.
yeah. Yeah, it's powerful. I recommend coaches for everybody. If I could, I would hire a coach, every type of coach, probably.
Yeah, same. Yeah, and like you mentioned the whole, you took out a loan because you felt that strongly about it. And that's like one of the things that I say to anyone I come across is that's looking for this sort of help with their lives is like literally look at you're investing in yourself. The greatest investment you can make or give to yourself is hiring someone who's going to help you get to the next stage and help you get out of your own way and into something that's amazing, or whatever it is your direction you want to go. They're going to help lead you that way. And so sometimes you may think you don't have the money, but let's face it, you find money for everything else.
Exactly.
Right? You
Yeah.
find money for things that don't even make sense sometimes. So why not invest in yourself and in your family by getting someone who can help you?
Yeah, I think the more we take care of ourselves, whether it's through having like a supportive coach or counseling or the self-care, like the
Mm.
more we can receive the blessings because we are being our best version of ourselves, or we're at
Oh
least
my gosh, yes.
working towards it.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
one of the things that I say all the time is literally, if you're not well enough for yourself, how can you be, if you're not well enough, how can you then be able to help others? So you need to take that time and give yourself some love, recharge, and then be able to give it back.
Exactly. And I think it's really important as parents, as mothers, that we model, that self-care or that going after our dreams or doing what we love. And especially for my daughter, she's 14, to just really show her like you can
Girl,
create.
you look 14.
That's great.
14-year-old.
That's so funny. 14. That's a little young. Thank you. I received that. I had her when I was 25. So do the math. No. Yeah, I mean that's another thing too. I live in a very small community, and it's another motivation for me as just being that role model for the community, for the young, the kids in the community, the young girls, the other, women, men, all, and whoever, really. But it always feels good when I'm out and about and they're like, thank you for all your posts, you're so inspirational. And like, I'm just like, oh, thanks.
It's a beautiful thing when you're able to be well enough with yourself that you can transfer the energy outwardly as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I believe so much in energy, like attracts like, and that, the energy we put out is, what we're going to attract back. Like, I don't get bridezillas. I've never, knock on wood.
Yeah, I feel the same way. So for the most part, I can't really say the last time, and I've been in business for a long time, but I also feel the same way. I don't get, at least if they're bridezillas, they're not that way with me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So I feel like I've been really getting some really amazing clients. So I feel blessed in that way. Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to share with us today?
I don't have anything off the top of my head. Do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Yeah. What advice would you have to somebody that's just starting out?
Yes, I would say, one of the first things is for you to just go for it. I think oftentimes we have this desire in us, to want to do something greater or follow a passion that's really just innately within us. And we second guess, we doubt ourselves. So I would say if there's something that truly makes you tick, makes you happy, and your brain keeps thinking about it, go for it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because like for me, the DJing was a dream forever, and there's part of me that wishes I would have started in high school. But
Mm.
I think everything happens at the right time.
I was just
So
going to say that. Yes,
yeah,
I firmly believe that.
yeah, wonderful. Well, how can we find you online and best support you?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there in my stories and from time to time in my feed. So Instagram is at DJ_Valentina. You can find me there. I'm also on Clubhouse. I forget my handle, but if there is a handle.
That's funny. I love
Yes, Clubhouse is, Instagram is where you can find me.
that. Okay, wonderful.
DJ_Valentina.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and it was great to connect with you. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate you, girl.
Go to my website to claim your free gift, a digital copy of my best-selling book, How to Start a DJ Business. www.djrundat.com. Follow me on all social media handles: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at DJ RunDat. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. To learn how you can book me or work with me, go to my website or email me at michelle@djrundat.com.